Hello, my name is Mahmoud Braima, and welcome everyone to the first presentation of my capstone project titled Bad Bank in Partial Fulfillment of the Requirement for the Completion of a Coding Course at MIT. Now, I'll start with the front-end architecture. First, the front end was built as React.js application using a RESTful API to query the interface in the backend. API was built on Node.js, so I simply used the basic technologies of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and Bootstrap. Second, I added logic to run the server side. I created a Node.js application to host the code for the server and the connectivity to the data store. I'm serving the static files using Express out of the SRC directory. I then created a number of routes in the Node.js application using the Express.js package. And you can see here that those will be equivalent to the user interface element that I have in the Bad Bank application, that is create account, login, deposit, withdraw, and log out, representing all of the functions that I have in the application. And so the data store as well will have the information that is required in order to create new users, in order to verify login, and in order to return the data that will contain the information with which we can authenticate the login rather, in the server. Third, I added a data store that is going to maintain the state of my application. Once I have built all these different pieces, I verified them, the functionalities. I use Mongoose to connect the Node Express application to the database, connecting the front end to the back end, and to the data store, and having all these run together. So the front end architecture, you can see here the all the files here, what I've just talked about. And now for the authentication, the user logs in using a username and password to the web application, which is transmitted to the authentication server. Upon a successful authentication, the server generates a JSON token containing the information about the user and the authentication session. The server sends the token to the client for verification. The client stores the token, usually in a cookie, and includes it in subsequent requests to the server. When the client sends a request to the application server, it verifies the signature in the token and checks the claims in the payload to ensure that the user can access the requested resource. If the JWT is valid, then the user can access the requested resource. And here is a diagram for the front end. At the top, you can see the nav bar representing the navigation bar and containing links to different functionalities. The routes below it manage different paths and map them to specific components, as well as direct the users to the corresponding component. Right below are the components representing the navbar items and the code that make it run and carry out the functionalities. Lastly, we have context sitting at the core of the application. Basically, it stores shared state and provides data and functionality to all the components. In other words, controls the app's global state.